welcome to Roundtable. The shocking murder of young Nikki Bhati, a dowry death where she was burnt alive, harassed by her in-laws and her husband, even though both Nikki and her sister Kanchan, married into the same family, were working members. They had their own beauty parlor. Their father gave dowry. He helped them set up their beauty parlor. They were bringing in money, which was taken by the in-laws. They were still harassed to the point of her being kerosene being poured over her and her being burned to death. What is happening in society today? What is also glaring that has come out is that these girls had complained of the domestic violence they were facing. They had come back to their parents' house, spent some time with the parents, and then they were either asked or cajoled or made to go back to the in-laws' house. What is the mindset of the society that doesn't support girls who want to leave their in-laws, come and work for themselves? They're independent, financially independent. What they're battling is also mindsets. Financial dependence is of course a whole new game, which still exists actually, makes girls stick to situations where they don't want to be, but because the parents don't have a choice. Here apparently there was a choice, but still they were made to go back. That is something we're going to be discussing today, the compulsions of our society and the mindset of a patriarchal society. Joining me on the show is Talish Ray. She is a practicing advocate. I have Dr. Suman Agarwal. She is the founder and president of Shanti Sahyog, an NGO that deals a lot with girls who come from slum areas and has seen many cases of domestic abuse. She's also a Gandhian. I have Kamlesh Prasad. She's an advocate and a solicitor and someone who's a social activist and also in fact works at Shanti Sahyog. But Talish, the mindset really is something I want to talk to you before we go into the law and everything. What is it that, we are in the 21st century, everybody is aware of what is happening, yet the girls are made to go back, yet they keep quiet. These are financially independent girls.
So I think at the base of it is the understanding that marriage as an institution is a sacrament. And a sacrament must, by nature is an act that is ordained by the Almighty. And that which is ordained by the Almighty therefore must be preserved at all costs.
Right.
And even though today we have a lot of laws which carve out exceptions in terms of divorces outside of one or two religions, it is not recognized as a contract or a lifestyle. So I think that belief that a marriage must go on forever, or ye sab chalta hai, and then after a point in time things will settle out. And very often, it is also tied to the reproductive rights of women, where, the choice that somebody may have saying that, bacha paida kar lijiye, you have a child, and then therefore things will settle out. Whereas none of that is actually translating on the ground. So once we look at the sacramental nature and then you look at the patriarchal structures around, between the two, it is so difficult for the women to stand up, both internally, to recognize that marriage itself is a lifestyle and therefore they have a choice to quit a lifestyle which is not suiting them, as well as the external validation that is required if one is to move away from a relationship which is not just sometimes cruel, can be life-threatening.
Which is the point. And these are mindsets, Dr. Suman, you've seen so many cases. It's not something that, yes, economics का होता है, but rich family, poor family, सब में ये जो family की इज्जत का सवाल मुझे समझ नहीं आता.
Yeah, I think that this honor is really misplaced. And then also log kya kahenge. I think that's also really overdone in our society. And also I feel that the dignity of, especially of women, that is should be primary. And also the another mindset is that अब वो तुम्हारा घर है, जो भी तुम्हें treat करे. Somehow that still is there. We can't do anything because you belong to them. So I think, as you rightly said, 21st century, economic independence, educational independence, everything, and yet we have these cases. It's really very sad. And one thing in this case, I felt very bad that he did it in front of the child. After all, one should be sensitive to, okay, whatever two adults are doing, but the child is there in front of that child, you did all this. What a trauma. I don't think the child can come out of that trauma.
Yeah, I don't
Seeing
think
his mother, hit and was he petrified.
And then burned to death.
Then burned to death. That's what I mean. Started with hitting her, He was slapping her.
But even abuse, what children, boys see in their house, that's the concept they take to their married homes. That it's okay to hit a woman.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Kamleji, what have you, these kind of mindsets, do you see them happening more and more because you...
Yes, it is increasing, or you can see that women are coming out. Otherwise, at first they don't come out. Now they are coming out, even in slums, they come out and they want some help. Because they are victimized and violence is there, they cannot now tolerate, and they want to find some help where we can get. So many cases come to me, and they said, somebody told me that you help here, and they come to us. We are being abused and violence, and they hit us here, they hit us there, and they show me their, so many, yes, burns and all that. They show me, and then we have to tell them the way how they can come out of this. They don't know where to go, and so this is the slums area. But even education, educated girls, they don't come out because of society or whatever. But the main thing, I think that main cause is the education of men and women both.
Very good point.
To tell them that the women and men, because men has put this in the mind of women that you have to face this and you have to protect the honor of the society, honor of our home. So not them, they can do anything. But we have to teach our students, in students, men, to say that they both are responsible for the honor of the house, not only the woman. So to save the honor of the house, women don't come out of the house, because now even in this case, they said that she said. It is said, I don't know after this or investigation, but that the girl said that at the time of it is gas blast, cylinder blast, because she wanted to save the marriage of her sister, and other people won't be going to the jail and all that.
The in-laws.
They don't, in-laws may not be. She was saving even in that
Condition.
time.
Yeah.
Yes, in such a horrible state of her own life, she is going to die, and she was saving the honor of her in-laws. So that is what we have put in the mind of women, that you have to save the honor of the house.
And nobody's bothered about her honor. That is the tragedy.
I'm actually quite intrigued by this this phenomena called early intervention. And therefore, I think I want to segue into ma'am's point, where she actually talks about education. Even in terms of education, so I just want to bring in certain hard facts here. Okay, number one, we have a ministry for women and children. I am a woman. I identify with the gender of being a woman, and I do object to the fact that women and child are clubbed together. That's the kind of structural drawbacks that we are talking about. Then when we look at textbooks, very early textbooks, please pick up any Aksharmala or alphabet book. Ma se ma khana banati hai. The picture that is put also is of a mother cooking. Right, and that all then translates into every audio-visual media which shows a woman again being only in the biological role of the carer and the protector, and then of course papa hai, papa paisa kamate hain. So pa se paisa, pa se papa, and that association that starts that early is very difficult to then negate, because if these biological functions of caregiving have been divided so drastically, and that early in life a child, whether be it a boy, girl, or of any other gender, is associating those roles, where is the chance for somebody to be able to move away from that conditioning? How do they actually think beyond those roles? And therefore it can be very shocking if one is to go to a place where that conditioning is still relevant and there isn't too much exposure, and they are brought in that these traditional gender norms have been flipped. They find it very, very hard to understand. And that conditioning is where it is moving into a direction where sometimes we feel that, sakshar aur shikshit hone mein bahut farak hai. So to be literate is to know all of these things. To be educated is to reflect back upon them.
Wow.
Where is the education that is coming in so far as gender equity is concerned? Where is it being addressed? So we talk about SDG, the Sustainable Development Goals, which has, this is one of the points. But where is the focus on that? And that's where it becomes problematic because later then they are the same people that the judges, the courts, the cops, they all come from. That is the same thinking that they're coming in from, the ecosystem that they're coming in from. So, and that's what gets reflected then.
Very well said, I must say, very valid points over here. It is, the whole education, as Shamlaji said also.
I think the socio structure, you could say.
And why we not, like aapne bhi bola, what they learn from the ground is what they, ghar pe, this is what they will inflict later.
So I think we should be a little bit careful here, because when we talk of India, India is such a big thing. Is it rural India? Is it urban India? Urban India, which class of India? Upper class, middle class,
But this patriarchy, I think, reflects even in the rich Marwadi home. Ye chalta hai, ye across divide hai.
Patriarchy, I think it's all over the world actually. It's just not in India.
Fair enough.
Patriarchal mindset.
But in terms of this whole entitlement that we give the men.
That's true.
So do you think education से शुरू होना चाहिए? Then at the level of कि माँ भी कमाती है, पापा भी कपड़े धो सकते हैं,
Yes.
I think घर से शुरू होना चाहिए. I think if you grow up, where the father also makes the tea or helps with the woman or whatever. Because even now when you come home, you've gone for a picnic, you come back, सब थके हैं, सबको पानी चाहिए. तो कौन पानी देता है? The woman of the house, normally.
Yeah.
So I think that sort of a mindset that she's there to serve or whatever, it's very much there. And which is a good thing in some ways. Because I think I'm also seeing the other extreme, where many young modern women don't want to enter the kitchen. In fact, in some cases, in arranged marriage, at least, they say no, only if there's a cook. I mean, I will not be in the kitchen. So that's another extreme we are facing today. I'm sure you are all aware.
I'm one of those. I'm one of those. Yeah. I proudly say it, and I say it on the reasoning that if the GDP of a country, the gross domestic product, does not include labor at home, why would I be putting in time for unpaid, unaccounted labor?
Yeah, I think I disagree with you. I think it's a labor of love. You want to do it, and so, at least
both
you
sides,
want to do it.
Genders should want to do it.
Yeah. I think at least I've been lucky that, for example, when I got married, so Karwa Chauth ka vrat aaya, so my husband kept it for me. So why wouldn't I keep it for him?
No, that's consensual, and he's keeping it for you.
And I never told him to. But he said, "नहीं मैं तुम्हारे लिए रखूँगा व्रत."
But did he ask you to?
He didn't ask me. He never asked me.
If you're not asked, if you're forced to keep it, फिर problem आती है.
नहीं.
Why is the girl?
And I was really taken aback.
To tell me that don't keep. Why you are keeping? It doesn't make any difference.
So maybe I'm far more, and I definitely acknowledge that, as women who are far more advanced in life and experience, and our generation stands on your shoulder. But my entire thing about this entire notion that is built in with the patriarchy, and merely because one is co-opting into the patriarchy, whether it is by putting in, then you're not breaking the shackles. And breaking those shackles would mean taking greater steps. So maybe for that generation it was there, but for my generation I think it's also important, because when we see the trend across for the last 40 years, we see an ebb and flow. So I'll give you a small example. Dowry. Dowry was something that socially became problematic because there was a aligned campaign by the governments, by the social sector, saying that dowry is in itself is bad. And you had very stringent norms and laws that came about.
Yeah, but I think the starting of dowry was very good. It was giving the girl her share of the property, because land could not be given to her.
True.
So and the origin is it's a very fair origin.
But it translated very badly.
It translated very badly on the ground. So similarly, again, you had sections that came in which, sort of shifted the burden of proof on parties and all of that. And then, of course, there was a societal outcry in terms of misuse, which was taking place to a certain extent. The courts themselves noted it. And as a result, it was then watered down. Everyone was cautioned, do not misuse.
I think after the dowry deaths,
yes,
there were so many of them.
There were so many of them. So 1980s,
1990s,
there isn't a single person who was growing up who had not heard of a dowry death, which was often cylinder burst, and the woman died. And then, of course, dowry was looked down upon. And fast forward 30 years later, I keep asking myself, what are these uber expensive Instagrammable weddings that are often paid by the girl's side of the family? Is that then not a compulsion? And if that is a compulsion, then how is it very different from a dowry? But you see, what has happened is that it has become acceptable, and gradually there's a tolerance that is being built up, and there are various arguments that are being used.
But that's
and that
hardly
is where
1% of the population. The
well,
extravagant weddings, I mean,
true,
how many?
true, but
Less
the
than
aspirations are there.
1%.
The
Less than.
aspirations are there, and therefore, where are we breaking the ground? And are we then slipping away into the same old system where there was a blip in the system where awareness was built, socio-economic awareness was built by all those that were responsible as this thing? Where is that awareness gone? Or we look at movies. Think about it, something like a Kabir Singh coming out. It was horrific to watch. It was horrific to watch the kind of violence, stalking, disrespect that was there towards a particular gender. It would not have been acceptable. And we've had people protest against movies, but nobody protested against that. So who is going to stand up in terms of all the civil society holders? The stakeholders, whether it's the government, whether it's infrastructure, whether it's the film
People
industry, who's going to stand up for this?
Okay, I'm going to take a break and come back and talk to Sumanji, because it's good to get, both sides, because some customs were put in for a reason, like even a Kanyadan, there was a reason for it, but down the ages, the way it's been translated, misused and, totally misused against the girls is another thing. So between thought and action, there's been a huge gap. So that's something I'm going to be looking at after a break. Hello and welcome back to the round table. We're here discussing, we began by discussing the horrific dowry death of Nikki Bhati, but the larger message it sends about us and society as a whole is what I'm looking at. Sumanji, you made a good point about dowry, that initially it was done to give the girl her share of the property by her parents. But it's never the girl's share, it always went to the in-laws. Ko girl ke haath mein aata hi nahi tha.
Yeah, but in any case, the concept in itself was an equity concept. It wasn't, of course, it downgraded down the line, and naturally we have all these dowry deaths and everything that happened.
Then it became a hak.
And then also compulsive. Then that is, of course, very bad. But now these days, at least, I'm talking again, when you say India, it's a very large continent, and which section of India, but there are a lot of young people who sort of even want to share the marriage expenses. First of all, they don't want those big
weddings.
And they in fact say that to their parents also, you want to give us the money we invest in a house. Why should we feed overfed people? So that concept is also coming in. Again, very, I should say, enlightened young people, that there's no need for the big fat Indian wedding, as it is called.
I hope, but in this age of social media, there's itna pressure aata hai ki photos kahan hai, reels kahan hai,
नहीं मतलब दोनों sides हैं. There are a lot of young people. But
it's a good mindset to support. But does this initiative should come from the girl or the boy? Because girl कहती है, then the boy will say, "Kare, you are saving money. अपने parent का पैसा बचा रहे हो." So
I think it normally comes from both sides whenever it happens.
Both sides. But what are the, Kamlesh, you began by saying that a lot of people come to you with, the bruise or a burn. You know that this is the beginning of the domestic. So, why don't they leave the husbands? What do they say?
Yes, where should we go? Where should we go?
Option nahi hai.
Yes. Where should we go? I have to rent a house. My children are with me. That who will look after? And I am alone. I am not earning so much that I can do this much. So I told them that why you are facing all this violence and sticking to this house. Why you are earning? You earn more and live alone. I told her, why you are doing? Yes, you can take your children with you. So, no, he will come and hit me. He will do again there. He will come. So I can't do this even. So how women are so,
left to themselves.
Yes.
But that's the thing, the options की बात है. एक तो ठीक है financial option, but the legal option भी बहुत, it's a big tedious process.
It is. And I think that has to do with the justice delivery system, where the process itself has become a a punishment. And it remains sad because every time there is a high profile case, there's a call that is given out again and again for special fast track courts for all of these issues which are violence against women. And violence against women is very, very high in this country, inconsequential of which part it is. So I was just looking up the NCRB data before coming in here. And surprisingly, only about 7,000, under 7,000 cases are reported of dowry death. Now that's interesting because UP leads it, then there is Bihar and West Bengal and Orissa also figure somewhere in the list. But the nature of it looks different in the south. So for example, in the south, the violence translates into the women taking their lives, so-called, on its own right. So suicides, it is registered as a suicide. And these are also figures that are sometimes not even brought forward. Not everybody goes in to register a complaint. It's only when the parents are agitating, otherwise it's difficult. Now when we look at that, how do they approach, how do they move about? Yes, the structures have been set up. There is the Dowry Prohibition Act, has been around forever. There is the changes that were brought about in the IPC reflected in the Bharatiya Nyaya Samhita. Then of course there's the Domestic Violence Act, which is phenomenal in terms of what it has established and been able to achieve. But trying to get there, access to justice, per person access to justice in this country remains an issue.
Yeah.
And that access to justice has to be sort of more streamlined. It has to be brought about in a manner where there is, even now when we're talking about this recent case itself, let's see for how long it will take for this person to be, I mean right now is in judicial custody, but when will the charge sheet be filed? What will happen to the witness statements despite such proof that is there? It remains to be seen, and it becomes very easy at that point in time to have a call and say, oh, they should be hung to death. Sure, but what is the precedent? What kind of precedent are we looking at? Is this is the manner of?
I mean, in our center, we have a center for women, and of course, Kamlesh ji is heading the legal part. So there also there is access, but again, it is only over the years that we built up trust in the community. Now they are coming. In the beginning, they wouldn't come. कि किसी को पता लग जाएगा तो मुझे और मार पड़ेगी. So you know that now
the options are very little, but
trust is a very big factor. You build up at least in an institution, then they come.
But look at the attitude of that boy. He's arrested. He's in hospital. But you were talking about that.
Yeah, he's not at all
remorseful.
Yes, remorseful about it. And he says, I don't feel any guilty. I'm not guilty.
Yes, and he was probably raised to believe that anybody other than the male gender is chattel.
Yeah.
So
he's raised to believe
he's raised to believe that it's chattel, because a lot of the times when I do hear about the fact that these were customs that served well. Yes, they were customs that served well when we were traveling from place to place in a bullock cart. Currently, people are flying place to place. What is the point of following the same custom and notion? I mean, we've changed the way we communicate simply because we now have the technology to communicate differently. So we are not sending pigeon carriers anymore across for urgent messages. And therefore, what is the point of keeping these? And I think a great example that I see is of the South Korean society, which in about 2 generations was able to bring forward an absolute change in the way the women in the society were perceived. And that was done by strategic interventions at every level. And I think that is what is needed currently, because otherwise what happens is every 6 to 8 months there's one heinous crime, there are the usual outroar, and then it just we fall back to the next cycle.
Nirbhaya case, bilkul sahi bola. In that case,
but fast track, and it 10 years.
10 years, exactly.
10 years it took.
Exactly.
And that hasn't stopped other cases. That is the. So then, so the deterrents are actually at what we were talking earlier: the education level, the mindset level, the society level,
even in the house.
In the house.
Not to say that now you can't come back home, you have to stay there.
The parents have to also say that, is divorce still considered a shame? Is it a society's shame? अभी भी है.
वैसे तो honor killings भी होती हैं, अभी भी होती हैं.
अभी भी होती हैं, feticide भी अभी भी होता है. So that's what I'm saying. Divorce, yes.
Feticide also.
Yes.
I think boils down to patriarchy somewhere,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Which is any Indian man you scratch, there is patriarchy ultimately using.
I think the best way to look about it is that you actually have matrimonial websites for those that are divorced, as if it's in some way, you know, it's a reuse thing or so. I mean, it makes no sense. If a person's single, they're single.
Yeah.
Whether it is
Yeah, why have a separate website for a divorce?
So it's easy I think that's very practical.
Why?
So divorced people can look into that and.
No, but why can't a divorced person look into a single person?
That option is already there, but normally I think
because the
given
mindset
an option,
is that, divorce ka matlab ke, you know, yeah, you're right. That's a very good point on that. So in the end, it comes to labels we put on ourselves, of mindsets, perceptions that really need to change. You know, law, of course, yes, but that's a whole new game. What we can do from our own houses is the way we educate, the way we behave, the way we set an example. That's the first way to begin. So on that note, equality, gender equality is a must on that note. Otherwise, we'll just keep having these cases come up again and again, headlines that we just look at, and I think in the end we'll have to blame ourselves for more headlines like that. On that note, thank you for watching this roundtable.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.